Yo, what is going on, you guys? So today I'm bringing guys a brand new sports cards video. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the buying power over the last 5 years and how it has changed. What $100 could get you in 2020 versus 2025 in the sports card market. Before we get into that, I did want to say, as you guys know, we have a membership program and we've been doing extremely well. Our members have been making a lot of money over the last couple of years. Our number one investment since 2020 has been Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's continued to soar to new levels. We've also made a lot of short-term gains, especially in the football season. A lot of players like Lamar Jackson that we bought before the season, have gone up 50 to 70%, along with others. So if you want to become a member, the link will be down below. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into today's video. As you guys know, a lot of the market over the last 5 years has been speculation with young stars. Now, if we look at a Victor Wembanyama base prism, this is a pop 24,000. We can see that this card right here, we're loading the transactions, but this card is now an under $100 card. Of course, Wembanyama is a generational talent. He's the hottest name in the market for the last year or so. And you can see the price action of his cards have really come down. His PSA 10s are down to under $100. Some sales as low as $65 for a Victor Wembanyama base prism PSA 10. The markets, of course, changed a lot. I will say over the last 5 years, a lot of people have been going away from base and towards other cards. But what's happened is there's become so many more parallels out there. And a lot of cards have really come down back to earth in terms of price action. If we want to look at some 2020 price action in terms of the hottest name at that time was Luka Doncic. Luka's cards overall in 2020 were at an insane price level. Of course, there was a lot of new people speculating on Luka's cards and how they were going to perform. And you can see his index, is obviously up a little bit now. But if we look at all time, in 2020, there were a lot less cards graded, which was why you see the index a little bit lower. But if you look at his base prisms, for example, so we'll pull up his base prism in a PSA 10, we could see how this card has moved over time. And in 2020, this card, believe it or not, was up to a $2,000 card. So a base prism of the hottest player in basketball was a $2,000 card. And today's base prism of the hottest player in basketball is under a $100 card. So we're seeing overall just Luka's cards have, the leading player at that time, was at a much higher rate. Even if you look at his optics, for example, this card was a $700+ card in 2020 and is now, around $100 or so card. And if you look across the board, Wembanyama, Luka, a lot of young players, even for Michael Jordan and other guys, you were seeing that buying power is a lot better now than it was in 2020. So we see right here that Luka's Prism PSA 10 was a $2,000 card in August. There was one sale. There were a couple sales actually, even privately, though it was around a $2,000 card for a base Prism PSA 10. You could hardly even get a PSA 8 for the price of a PSA 10 Wemby today in today's market. A PSA 8 was a $510 card in 2022 for the hottest prospect in the game. Today, you can get that card for around $50. So for a lot of the market, the buying power has got a lot stronger now. You can buy a lot more young prospects, especially, base cards and cards that have really gotten hit over the last 5 years. You have a lot more buying power now than you did back in 2020. However, that has not been the same for all players. If you look at Michael Jordan, for example, you can look at, for example, his 1988 Fleer. This is a card that, you could get this card now for under $100. If we look back at where this card was, we can try to find those exact sales, but I believe this card right here was around, 5 to 6x what it is today. If we look at a Michael Jordan Fleer PSA 7 is what we are looking at. $63 is the last sale. This card at its peak was over a $360 card. Even in 2020, it was higher than it is today. So we're seeing a lot of price movement over the last 5 years that has moved away from these more common cards. However, that being said, if you're going for a national treasures, we can look at Michael Porter Jr., for example. So we will type that in better. We will type in Michael Porter Jr. National Treasures. We can see that the buying power for National Treasures, or maybe we'll use a player who is actually, performed a little bit closer to expectations. Of course, Trae Young was a lot higher back then. We'll go with Shea, for example. All right, we'll pull up a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander 2018 National Treasures patch auto, and how National Treasures have held up compared to base Prism. So Shea, as great as he is, and as much as he's gone up over the last 5 years, his base Prisms, believe it or not, are still lower than they were 5 years ago. However, you're seeing his National Treasures a lot higher than they were before. So we've been seeing an overall trend away from base Prisms and towards National Treasures. So this card, for example, in a BGS 8.5 was a $2,000 card back in 2020. It's currently an $18,000 card. So we are seeing his National Treasures overall have gone up a ton. His 9.5 recently sold for $84,000. There's been a lot of price growth. This card in 2020 was around a $3,000 card. This was actually when our members were buying in, which is insane to see how far, Shea's market has come. But Shea's market, overall for the coveted cards have gone up almost 30x over the last 5 years. Whereas when you look at a base Prism, for example, this card right here is a $40 card today. And we will pull up where it was back then. But the point is that a lot of money has been flowing away. If you're looking to buy base Prisms, your buying power right now will be a lot stronger than it was before. We can see Shea's base Prisms in a PSA 10. Shea's been one of the hottest performing players over the last 5 years, but if you bought his base Prisms in 2020, you held it for 5 years, he became an MVP candidate, he became one of the faces of the league, everything paid off. You still lost money. You still lost more than 50% of your money buying into Shea's market, even though his overall cards have gone up, his numbered cards have gone up, a lot of his cards are still making all-time highs, but his base Prisms and his silver Prisms and all that, the hyper Prisms even, they have actually gone down in price. And that really goes to show picking what cards you're buying. I think this will be one of the main themes of this video, is like picking what cards of each player you're going to buy makes all the difference. If you look at a green Prism, for example, like this card, even if you bought a semi-rare Shea Gilgeous card in 2020, you would barely be in the profit after having an MVP season, which is insane to think about. So I think a lot of investors were going towards those base Prisms. If you're looking to buy common cards, you're gonna be able to buy a lot more cards than you could in 2020. But if you're looking at these rarer cards, you are going to be paying a crazy premium compared to 2020 for a lot of these cards. Even his blue Prism, for example, like this card peaked at around 3,000 in 2020. It's currently making all-time highs at over 5,000 today. So I would definitely say that the main thing would be, if you bought his National Treasures, you're up almost 30x. If you bought his base Prism, you're down over 60%. And so what that means is, in today's market, if you're looking for rarity, you're going to be paying a premium. If you're looking for common cards, you're going to be, getting a great discount. And I think that's really where the market's headed. The market's headed towards rarity. The market's headed away from base cards, away from common cards, away from cards that are being graded at a crazy pace. And I think a lot of these cards have been taking a while to recover. And I think a lot of that has also come down to a lot of people going away from Prism and towards Flawless, towards National Treasures. If we look at Shea's Flawless market as well, it's also skyrocketed over the last 5 years, whereas Prism market has really stayed stagnant, if not gone down if you pick the wrong card, such as a base Prism. So this card, for example, this was a card I actually owned. This is a BGS 9 of a gold out of 10. And if we look at that card, that card I remember back in the day was an $800 to $900 card. And today it's a $9,000 card. so it's not giving us much flawless information here. But back to the national treasures, you're going to get the same exact, you know, I would say trend across flawless and national treasures, and same exact trend across base prism as well. And if you look at his most rare cards, if you want to go to the far extreme, which is his logo man, this holds even more true, right? This card was a $23,000 card in 2020, and it's up pretty much 10x in 2023, and it's up even more since then. Card Ladder says it's worth $800,000 now. So whether it's worth $800,000 or not, the point is that the more rare of a card that you purchase for Shea, the better you did over the last 5 years. And I personally believe that that trend will continue over the next 5 years. I believe investors have gotten a lot more knowledgeable about which cards to go after. And the rarer cards have been constantly outperforming. So this is a card that you could have turned, pretty much a 40x on a Shea Gilgeous logo man. And if you bought Shea in 2020, but you chose to buy his base prisms instead, bought a bunch of base prisms, you'd be down over 60%. So this video is a little bit interesting to make. I think it's a great lesson that potentially rarity over the last 5 years has been what's paid off the most, and rarity over the next 5 years could potentially be what also pays off the most. If you're buying Victor Wembanyama base prisms compared to logo mans, if he turns out to be an all-time great, we might be able to see the logo mans have a crazy premium and the base prisms continue to go down because of common. And on top of that, you're just getting so much more supply hitting the market every single year. So I hope you all enjoy this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Once again, the membership link will be down below. But other than that, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'm out. Peace.